Welcome back, NFL fans, to week 3 of the season. This is the Discipline the Gen show. I am your host, Matty Betts. I'm here with Gino Donati, the biggest Gen I know. And this week, we are now live on Facebook and YouTube, both on the Matty Betts channel. If you don't catch us live and you're watching this later on, you can listen on Spotify or Apple, or you can watch on YouTube. There will be chapters at the bottom of the video, so you can scroll to the game that you would like or scroll to the picks that you want to see. Before we jump into the show, make sure you go to the link in our description. Sign up for BetOpenly.com today. We also now have officially partnered with Outlier, which is the best data and the best app in the game that will help you determine what picks you would like. That is in the description as well. So let's go ahead and dive into week 2 recap of right off the bat. I couldn't believe how many undefeated teams are in the NFL and how many teams are 0-2. Right now, 0-2 teams, the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Chargers, the Texans, the Bengals, Broncos, Bears, and Panthers. Undefeated teams, Ravens, Commanders, Saints, Falcons, Bucks, Eagles, Cowboys, your 49ers, and the Miami Dolphins. What's the biggest surprise to you so far out of the undefeated teams?
Out of the undefeated, it's the Bucks by far for me.
Not the Commanders?
No, I actually gave out their I gave out their win total as my number 1 play.
Yeah,
I didn't think they would be this good, but they're playing good games. That was a great comeback win.
Yeah,
at Denver,
100%. Well, right off the bat, what's something to look at? 0-2, and we just went over the 0-2 teams. But the 0-2 against the spread teams, I'm going to read them off now.
Oh, yeah.
And the number one reason why this is important to know which teams are 0-2 against the spread in the season. 78% of the time, 0-2 against the spread teams cover in the third week.
Oof.
Right? So
78?
It's an absolute buy low spot. So here you go. Here are your teams. You guys need to listen to this. Chicago Bears, the Bengals, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Giants, the Patriots, and the Texans. History says that 3 out of 4 of those teams, or 3/4 of those teams, roughly, will cover the spread going into week 3. 78% against the spread in the third game. That's going back to 2016.
I already hate my dog of the week, and I won't even say who it is. So Maddie's over here educating me.
We're going to come back to that, but I wanted to throw that out there. Let's go ahead and dive into just some narratives and what we've seen early in the season so far. Right off the bat, something that stuck out to me. I'm going to ask you right now, who do you think the MVP favorite is as of today?
The MVP favorite of today, man, it can't be in Minnesota, right?
Nope.
God, Maddie, I'm terrible at
Tua.
Is Tua? Oh, that makes sense.
Tua is MVP of the league as of today at plus 500. However, there's something that sticks out to me here, and I know this is typically a quarterback-driven. MVP is always quarterback-driven. Micah Parsons is 60-1 to win the MVP.
Don't do that. Offensive Player of the Year, CMC, has my attention.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was crazy because he's had an insane first 2 games.
He's a monster.
And Tua is the favorite at plus 500. Patrick Mahomes is next at plus 600. But Tua's leading the NFL in passing yards as of right now. I believe Kirk Cousins is in second.
And people are going to hate me for saying this, but, dude, some of Tua's throws look great. Other ones, I'm like, dude, the receiver gets all the credit. He airs it out, and the receiver gets there and
He's
steals
very accurate, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Very, very accurate.
Fair enough.
All right, well, let's get and dive into Thursday Night Football. The Giants versus the 49ers. Giants are 9.5, at some sites 10.5-point dogs against your San Francisco 49ers, over under 45.5. I think that number's gone down already. 9% of the tickets are on the Giants. The public does not like this New York Giants team. 91% of the tickets are on the San Francisco 49ers. Saquon Barkley is questionable with that right ankle sprain. Brandon Ayuk is also questionable with the left shoulder injury. The 49ers 8-1 against the spread at home when they're coming off of a win in their last 9 games. Brock Purdy has exceeded 1.5 passing touchdowns. Ready for this? In 8 of his last 10 games as a favorite, and he has not thrown an interception in 4 of his last 5 at home. The under has hit in 15 of the Giants' last 19 games coming off of a win. We probably don't have to ask Gino what he likes here, but I will go ahead and do that anyways. Where are you leaning in this game?
No, if I'm being honest, if you can get 10.5, which I think you'll be able to get to by kickoff, I would actually take the Giants here. It's an extreme buy low spot. They're 0-2 versus 2-0 ATS on both of them. And then I honestly think the best bet in this is the under. The Niners will not do what they did against the Rams. It was, come on, allowing those hooks like that. Like, we were getting shredded. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine anyone thinks the Giants will be able to stop the Niners offense. I can't believe anyone thinks anyone except the Jets, Eagles, and Cowboys could stop this offense. So this is a buy low spot for me on the under. I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be like a 23-10, 23-13, something like that. So the 49ers have looked dominant. They obviously more than covered the spread in week 1 against the Steelers. Then last week at LA, one of the more controversial things of the season, Sean McVay decides to kick that field goal as time expires, and the entire gambling world had a heart attack because they were minus 7.5. They were down 10. They kicked the field goal, and they lost by 7. A lot of controversy about that. What are your thoughts on it? My thoughts are I had 2 units on the Niners, and that was a 4-unit swing. I'm disgusted. Yeah. I did read that there is apparently a divisional tiebreaker that involves variance. I don't know if that's ever come into play. But Sean McVay was interviewed today, and he didn't bring that up as a reason. And he basically said that the initial game plan was to throw like a quick pass, get out of bounds, bring the field goal unit out, and then try to get an onside kick. With that said, there was 4 seconds left when they went to line out the field goal. By the time that went through the uprights, the game was over. So, but a lot of people will argue that that's like the 9th tiebreaker or some crazy shit is the points in the division. So it is what it is. I don't think anything, obviously people that think the NFL is rigged, anything that happens, they're going to look at and be like, this is why it's rigged. But that is definitely an extremely sick beat there. The way I look at this game is I was higher than most people on the Giants preseason. Obviously that's played out horribly. They did win last week, and that could be a season-saving win here. Honestly. Because you do not want to lose to the Cardinals and expect to make the playoffs this year. So they were able to edge out that win. They did not cover last week. They obviously did not cover in week 1 against Dallas, losing 40-0. But I agree with you. This could be a buy low spot. But logically at the same time, it's like, how do you not back the 49ers to win by double digits against this team based on what we've seen in 2 weeks? No, I completely agree. And the only thing I would say, I try and tell people this for the first 3 weeks, look at the matchup and see if you gained or lost points based on the first 3-week performance, first 2-week performance. Mm-hmm. So again, we will never know this, but my opinion is the Niners would probably have been minus 6.5 to 7.5 if this was week 1, probably 6.5, maybe even 5.5 if this was week 1. Agreed. So you have gained a pretty substantial amount of points. Did the Giants just save their season with that win in Arizona? Potentially. Yeah. Is Arizona that bad? No. They've now been in very good positions to beat both the Commanders and the Giants. People were telling me I need to have the Commanders in my top 10 power rankings. I don't see that, but it hurts my heart to say it. If you can get 10.5, bet the Giants here. Better bet to me is under 45. I think you showed me at. Mm-hmm. It already dropped to 43.5. Well, there you go. So that explains that. I still like the under here. I genuinely think this is going to be a 23-27 score for the Niners, and work backward from that on them covering. So 23 gets it done. 23-13, something like that. If you get 10.5, that's how I see this game going. I was pretty disappointed in our defense. I think we're going to come out with a completely different defensive plan. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Daniel Jones, all things considered, he did rebound pretty well after that really bad performance in week 1. He threw for 321 passing yards last week.
2 touchdowns. Barkley at 63 yards. I'm assuming he'll play, but he is questionable. But I think they could really struggle to run the ball, and that's the one thing that scares me. This is a no play for me in this game, but I do agree that the Giants are the value spot, just from a buy low standpoint. So let's go ahead and move on to Sunday here. And we have the Tennessee Titans versus the Cleveland Browns. The Titans are a near 2-1 underdog on betopenly.com. This number, I believe, is down to 3 now. Is that right? And then the graphic shows 4.5. So some sharp money came in right away on Tennessee. It looks like it's down to 3 points. The over-under at 40.5 now on some sites. 61% of the tickets are on Tennessee in this game, with 39% of the tickets on the Browns. The under has hit in 15 of the last 20 games for the Titans when they're coming off of a win. And that's something to look at here. With that said, with what happened last week, every game feels like the total is so fucking low, bro. And especially with me having dogs and under, I didn't even talk about that in the intro. I probably should have. Dogs and the under went 0-16 in week 2 after a great week 1 performance. It just feels like all these games, the over-unders are so low, right? 41 here, 40.5, whatever the number is. You get off to a fast start, and it's like impossible for the game to go under, right? I look at the Steelers game last night.
Oh, man.
7 point. The over-under was 39 in that game. There was literally a touchdown in the first 8 seconds of the game.
I was like kicking my.
We'll see what happens in week 3 with these over-unders. If that trend continues, I expect it to even out some where like it's not one extreme one way or the other. Like week 1, It was essentially all unders. Week 2, essentially all overs. I think 13 of the 16 games went over the number. So it's something to look at here. But I do, when I first look at this game, I do lean under here. What are your thoughts on both the spread and the total?
Yeah, so what I would say, I love the Titans' run defense. And with Chubb out, that backup running back for Cleveland looked solid. Mm-hmm. So he looked like a good backup, right? Which is usually something that would get you to think you're getting free points on the over, actually. Like that the public's going to be overly focused on the star that's out. Mm-hmm. But this Titans run D and the fact that I have not been impressed with Deshaun Watson at all. If I had to, compare it to stuff I've been arguing on Twitter, it's like there's a Deshaun Watson signing and what they gave up for him, not even the money, but what they gave up for him seems like a massive mistake. So I don't believe Cleveland's going to be able to score on Tennessee. And with Matty's agreement, I don't believe Cleveland's defense is as bad as that score looked. If you watch that game, it was almost in the second quarter at some point before Pittsburgh even had a first down. So I think you get some value here on this under with both these teams, since Tennessee, I think, went and won in overtime. This is almost like the opposite of the buy low, sell high, but for the under. That actually could be something we add on to the show. Both these teams went over last week, and now they're playing each other. So I do think there's some added value on the under this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Titans defense looked really good in week 1 against the Saints. They did lose that game 16-15. And then at home, they play the Chargers, and they gave up 24 points.
Chargers are tough
offense. But, yeah, all things considered, that's not bad. I'd like to think that they're giving up 24 to the Chargers. The Browns have not looked impressive, and Deshaun Watson has been one of the more inaccurate QBs to start the season. So I'd like to think this Titans team can go on the road here, maybe hold the Browns to like 17, somewhere in that range. But I can see this is a low-scoring game. But with that said, these totals are just – they feel so low. They feel so low, and they're scary. And I understand if you don't want to bet it 100%. So
Titans 23-16, 23-14, 23-13.
Yeah. To me, the value's on the Titans 20? Money line.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me plus 197 on Bet Openly,
it's crazy.
The Titans money line in this game, I 100% feel like you have to take that. So
Titans put up 20 and Cleveland just puts up less, 19, 18, 17.
Yeah, and both these teams are 1-1. This is a really important game to get into to have a winning record going into week 4. So, all right, let's move on to the next Sunday game here. We have the Chargers versus the Titans. Right now, the Chargers are a 1-point road favorite with the over-under sitting at 50.5. Is that number right? I think it went down. I think at one point it was at 54.
That's insane.
Yeah, check that number for me.
They're climbing it up. Yeah.
65% of 65% of tickets are on the Chargers on the spread here, with 35% on the Minnesota Vikings at home. Austin Eckler is still out. Now, here's some trends I want you to listen to hear me out here, because the Chargers are 0-2, and all the trends here could point to this Chargers team going 0-3 to start the season. So listen to this. The Vikings are 21-9 against the spread at home, coming off of a loss. So when the Vikings lose outright the next week, when they return home, they've won 21 out of the last 30 games. And that's an important number because they're a 2-point dog here at home. The over has hit in 34 of the last 52 Chargers games on the road, coming off of a loss. And the Vikings are 35-18 straight up at home, coming off of a loss. So very good against the spread at home, coming off a loss. Very good straight up at home, coming off a loss. Probably the same thing here since they're only a 2-point dog at home. All the trends here pretty much point to the Minnesota Vikings. And this kind of feels like with the Chiefs last week. It's like, can the Chiefs go 0-2? Obviously, that didn't end up happening. Yeah. But you would think the public are going to hammer this Chargers team, right? No chance Justin Herbert starts off the season 0-3. I think they're going to. I think the Vikings are going to win this game outright at home. I really do. And I think this could be a really good dog and under.
And this got hammered quick. So the updated lines are Vikings -1, and the over-under is 54.5.
Okay, so
they built this up.
Yeah, so the total went up. I think this is a good spot to buy on the under now that you're getting all that. There's extra few points.
Way up. It's crazy. And man, this is I think the first time the Chargers are a dog this season. Man, 0-3 is just an ugly place to be. And one of these teams, both these teams had high playoff hopes, and one of them is going to be 0-3. Pretty crazy. I have the Minnesota Vikings higher than the Chargers in my power rankings, and I raised Minnesota in my power rankings against how hard they played the Eagles. Now, I can't guarantee a win, but technically that fumble in the end zone on Thursday seems like a month ago now. That was a big deal. So I think Minnesota should be favored in this game. I think they moving it. The Sharps came in and bought this. The books tried to set it the wrong way, thinking the public would be higher on the Chargers. Everything I'm seeing in this game points to Minnesota. And I'm sorry, guys, I just don't have a buy. I know the Sharps beat this up. I'm with Matty that I would lean 54.5, but if you told me this game ended 30-25, I wouldn't even blink. Like the amount of points they both put up, the Chargers just haven't been playing defense. I wanted them to have a better defense. And Herbert's been pretty off. So if he has a monster game, the Minnesota defense is a team, secondary is a team you can do that to.
Yeah, and look, Minnesota's defense has actually been solid.
Yeah.
Right? They held Tampa Bay to 20. That's not the craziest thing to brag about.
Yeah.
But the Eagles scored 34, but we saw the defensive touchdown, right, with Darius Slay, and it's the Eagles. So I think the Vikings defense is actually a little underrated in this spot. I like the Vikings in the under in this game. That's 100% where I would lean. Let's go ahead and move on to the Patriots at the Jets. This is another very interesting game, right? Patriots 0-2 on the season, -2 now on the road. Over under 37 on some sites. Again, these low totals are absolutely ridiculous. 78% of the tickets on the Patriots spread. No way Bill Belichick could go 0-3 to start the season, right? 22% of the bets or the tickets are on the Jets spread. The under is hit in 17 of the last 26 Jets game coming off of a loss. The Jets are 6-14 straight up at home coming off of a loss. They're a team that when things get bad, it kind of stays bad for them. The Patriots, ready for this? They've covered 5 straight games against the Jets. Belichick has owned the Jets straight up and against the spread. Now, the Patriots are 0-2 ATS to start the year. We talked about that statistic earlier in the show. It didn't apply to the last game because both teams are 0-2.
Yep.
But the Jets are what, 1-1?
And exactly. 1-1 on the record, 1-1 on the spread. You're gonna love this over under. Mm-hmm. Now, spot down to 36.5.
That's ridiculous.
It's 36.5. And I like the under. Like, what have we seen? The Patriots looked horrendous. The Dolphins don't have this great defense. They have a good defense, but not great. The Patriots look stagnant. The Jets have one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
And their offense is as questionable as it gets. Now, mind you, they've drawn a tough card, right? You're opening up with the Bills and then Cowboys. They're good defenses, or at least in my book, top 16.
Yeah.
And the line is now -3. So, I don't know. I just have not seen anything at this Patriots team that's made me impressive. This shout out to Matty. He called the exact score on New Orleans, Carolina. He said he'd put his mortgage on the under in that game.
Ended up being a sweat late in the fourth.
Barely. It was locked in for the whole game. And I almost want to mirror that in this game.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if each of these teams have a touchdown in the first half. I don't want to go as far and say neither will, but I would be surprised. I have seen nothing out of either.
Yeah.
This to me has 10-7, 10-3, 7-6 written all over it. So I really like the first half under here. I really like the game under. I'll probably go bigger on the first half under and look at the second half under versus having a larger bet on both before the game. Yeah. These have been two of the more stagnant offenses I've seen, and their defenses, they're both defensive minded. I think this is going to be a war. Patriots don't want to start 0-3. No one does. I get it. I think the Jets believe they're getting disrespected being a dog here. I genuinely believe that. So,
yeah.
Also got a little love for the Jets money line here.
Yeah. I'm on New England here. I think you should take this at -2, 2.5. I don't know if it's hit 3 on Bet Openly, but I think on most sites it's still at 2.5. So I think New England makes a ton of sense here. I mean, at the end of the day, New England's played what? The Eagles and the Dolphins. I mean, you can make the argument that those are the best team in the NFC and the best team in the AFC, or at least a top 2 or 3
absolutely
team in the NFC and AFC. So, and look, the Patriots were competitive in that Eagles game. They probably should have covered, even though they didn't. They lost 25-20. They almost covered the 4 points. They only lost by a touchdown on Miami. They kind of showed some resilience there in the second half. So I think Belichick and co. get things rolling here on the road. Feels a little square to me, but I think they get it done. I think this is one of these. It almost feels like the gift that the Dolphins were last week when you like the Dolphins to go into New England and cover. That's how I feel about the Patriots going into the Jets this week. When I just look at these two franchises, I'm like, which one's more likely to start 0-3? And to me, it's the Jets, as square as that feels. So,
and the last thing I'll say, to Matty's point, the Jets have also played tough teams. They opened up with the Bills and then they went into Dallas. So these two teams, honestly, people might sleep on these two teams, and they're playing each other. So there's not a lot of conclusions you can draw there.
Yeah.
But just keep an eye on these two teams, because I can all but guarantee I'll be betting the loser of this game next week, week 4.
I like it. All right, let's move on to another division game here. We have the Texans at Jacksonville. Texans are an 8-point underdog, over under 44.5. 57% of the tickets are on the Texans spread. It is a Tuesday when we're doing this show, so we'll have to monitor that number. 43% of the bets on the Jags. Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, both questionable. Some trends to look at in this game. Everything points to the Texans in this game. Ready for this?
Right.
Jaguars 7-19 against the spread at home, coming off of a loss. The under is hit in 15 of the last 23 games for the Jags, coming off a loss. This is a lot of points in a game that's supposed to be at 44 points. And Houston did win as a 7-point underdog last year in Jacksonville.
I remember that one.
Different quarterback, but same team, similar team. And they're a similar point spread, right? Now, I think they did get blown out in the second game, but when they played in Jacksonville last year, they did win outright as a touchdown underdog. So something to look at there. The way I look at this game is this is a lot of points. This is a lot of points in a division game. I think the Texans are going to get a little bit better each week. And I just think it's too many points. What do you think?
And I show it right now is up to 9. So people came in, dude. People, oh man, Jags coming off a very tough game versus Kansas City. This is a hard one for me. I'm with Matty in the sense that I like getting the 9. I don't a division game early in the season. A lot of points. I think Houston Texans, their quarterback looks good. If I had to bet this, I might be on the under though. I might see that as the best bet. I've been pretty impressed with Jacksonville Jaguars defense and not so impressed with their offense. So this is where, I've already said under now 3 of the first 5 games. Like that's where I'm leaning. I think the trend resets itself, and I'm liking a few of these matchups and a few of these unders pretty early.
Yeah.
I hate spreads as big as 9. Like I see the Jags beating them by 10. Yeah, 20-10, not even blinking. 24-14. So I do lean under here.
Yeah. Yeah, it opened at 45.5. I'm seeing 43.5 now. That's a pivotal 2-point swing there. But if you can get this under at 44.5 or even 44, I do still like it. All right, up next. This is one – actually, there's a chance this could be my dog of the week, Gino.
No way. Ballsy.
The Commanders, 2-0 in the year, are being disrespected at home, getting almost a touchdown. I bet you that number's going to hit 7. It's at 6.5 now, I believe. Bills a 6.5-point road favorite. Over under 45. Looks like it might be down to 44.5 here.
Yep.
Let's take a look.
100%.
44.5, yep. And 6.5 is the current line. So I think the Commanders are getting a little disrespected here. 80% of the tickets are already on those Buffalo Bills. It's funny how that works, right? People are so high on the Bills after week 1, 4 turnovers, 3 picks for Josh Allen. Then they come out. I backed the Bills last week, -8.
You did.
One of my favorite plays of the week. It was a perfect get-right spot. And it's just funny because the public gets burnt on the Bills week 1. Then they sell the Bills, and the Bills blow them out in week 2. And now we're back in week 3, and they're like, oh, I can get Josh Allen and co. to beat this Commanders team by only 7 or more. I'm going to take that. I'm on the opposite side here. I like the Commanders at home plus 6.5. Logan Thomas is questionable in this game. The under is hit in 5 of the last 6 Buffalo Bills game on the road. So that shows you that points are going to be at a premium. And the Bills are 15-4 straight up coming off of a win in their last 19 games. I like this Bills team to win. I'm going to say 21-17 is the final spread here. Is the final score here. The Bills win outright, but they don't cover, and the game goes under. That's my prediction.
Bold as your dog of the week. I respect it. I'm having trouble getting a read on this Commanders team. They're winning games. Their offense looked crazy impressive second half versus Denver. I went back and rewatched that. I kind of like the over in this game. I can't get away from liking the over. I've gained 1.5 in my direction from 46 to 44.5, thinking the Bills can put up some points and Washington can keep it close. I have no problem with Matty's prediction saying that the Bills win but don't cover. I would just move the lines and odds a little bit, like a 27-23, something like that. I'm going to be betting on the Commanders overs a lot if people keep hating on them.
Yeah.
I like Denver's defense better than the Bills' defense. Now I got Buffalo on the road. The weather's still nice in Washington. Hopefully I'll check that and make sure it's not a mud fest. Yeah. I would say my number one play on this game is the over.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Commanders last week, 35-33 on the road at Denver. I was very impressed with that comeback, though. Punched in the mouth in the first quarter, down 14-3 on the road. They scored 21 points in the second half behind Bijan Robinson and how, I think this team is underrated, bro. You were right on them preseason, and I think that it's a lot of points to take at home. They're extremely confident. They have momentum after that huge road win, after that huge comeback. Now they're coming home against a Bills team that we quickly forget how bad they looked just 2 weeks ago, right? I think there's a lot of value in this team at home. I could see them winning outright.
This NFC East is 7-1.
The more I think about it, I could see them winning outright. I know I predicted 21-17.
We're warming them up to this dog of the week. I mean, the NFC East is 7-1, brother.
Yeah, just 2-3 years ago, it was the NFC least to most of you out there. Now my Eagles and this NFC East is one of the top 2 or 3 divisions in football every year now.
Yeah, I like it. I'm glad we talked to you tonight. Now you're Washington money line. Is that play of the week? All right, we'll keep firing you up. I'm just playing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as the week progresses here. But I do like the points in this one. If this number hits 7, forget it. I love Washington in this spot. So we'll see here. All right, let's move.
And you're right, dude. It could easily hit 7.
Yeah,
people are very short-sighted. They remember
87% of the tickets.
They remember Bills, working
already
Raiders
on the Bills here. So, all right, let's move on to this Colts game. Colts are an 8-point road dog at Baltimore. Over under 44 points. 39% of the tickets are on the Colts. 61% of the tickets are on Baltimore. Guys, just so everyone knows, the tickets percentages that I read off, they are from the Outlier app, which is in the link in our description. It takes the aggregate numbers of the 4 most popular sports books in the world.
I love it.
So great data from over there at Outlier. 7-day free trial if you guys want to go check it out. Injuries. Richardson does have a concussion. We'll monitor that and see if he plays.
But however, they got that backup, baby.
Gardner Minshew, that's my boy. However, the Ravens might even be more banged up. Odell Beckham questionable. Humphrey has the foot surgery. Lamar Jackson has hand issues. This Ravens team is really banged up to be an 8-point favorite here at home. And for whatever reason, I feel like the Ravens, I don't have the numbers to back this up, but I feel like the Ravens historically do a lot better against the spread on the road than at home. I just feel like they're never really good home favorites. I know they did good in week 1 against Houston, but this is a lot of points here. I believe it's at, what's it at, 8.5 now? Let me see if it's moved.
I could tell you too.
No, it went down a point, so it's actually at 7.5 here. But just an interesting spread, in my opinion, for it to be over a touchdown with all the injuries they have. The under is hitting 6 of the last 7 Colts game coming off of a win. The Ravens are 36-18 straight up at home coming off of a win. What do you think? Is 8 points too much here?
This spread has me scratching my head. This Ravens team, I get that they're 2-0, but Cincinnati got worked way harder by Cleveland. Again, really early in the season, hard to draw conclusions. Colts went into Houston and smoked them. Smoked them pretty early. Minshew came in, and I know he's a totally different quarterback than Richardson, but he looks fine. I like the 8 as well, Matty. I'll agree with you here. I do feel like this over-under is a little high at 45. I think it went up from 44.5 to 45. So that's super interesting to me. Yeah, I'm having a hard time making a read on the over-under here, but I would lean Colts out of the gate at +8.
Yeah, I like a lot of dogs this week, especially after last week. Like, the public absolutely feasted on favorites in the over last week. There's a lot of good spots here where there's just so many games where, in my opinion, there's just too many points. Look at how many games there's a touchdown or more underdog, right? There's multiple double-digit dogs. There's how many 7 to 9.5 point dogs. Let's count how many dogs there are that are more than a touchdown. Giants +10.
Yep.
Texans +9.5. Colts +7.5. Cardinals +12. Bears +13. I mean, just a ton of dogs. That's 5 right there that are over a touchdown. The Broncos could hit a touchdown. They're at 6.5. So 5 or 6 dogs this week that are given a touchdown or more. So I'd like a lot of the dogs here, especially the Colts +8. I'm definitely going to take the points for sure on this one.
And I will say too, early in the season, people, look for their own truth. They look for what they're finding. I'm not that impressed with Baltimore's defense so far. They give up 24 to Cincy. I think, Cleveland shut them out. Obviously, totally different game. Way too early to draw conclusions like that. But Cleveland looked okay on defense against a Pitt team that the Niners just shut out. And then again, I'm trying to connect all these dots for all of you. The Rams had us against the ropes. So the conclusion I draw is this Baltimore defense is not elite. So getting 8 points and leaning a little bit over here makes a lot of sense to me. I know that Indy just played Houston. They were able to put up 31. Houston's D's not bad. They battle. This to me is a really interesting position for this over here. 44.
You like the over?
Yeah, I like it a little bit.
Interesting. All right, here's a fun one. The Falcons versus the
This one got
Lions.
beat down too.
Thank you, by the way, Detroit Lions, for losing to the Seahawks last week. That was my dog of the week on the money line. I needed that badly.
This is down to 3. Down to 3, and then it's up a half a point to 46.
Falcons +3 on the road here. Over under 45.5. 69% of the tickets are on the Falcons here on the road. 31% on the Lions. Jeff Okuda is questionable. CJ Johnson questionable. David Montgomery questionable. Amon-Ra St. Brown questionable. This team is banged up at home. As much as this could be a good buy low spot for the Lions, just because the Falcons are what? The Falcons are 2-0, right?
2-0, yeah.
2-0 Falcons on the road. The public's going to look at that as like, oh, 2-0 team getting 5.5 points at Detroit. So this is a tough one. Here's some trends for you. The Falcons, ready for this? 1-5-2 against the spread on the road coming off of a win.
Oh,
if that doesn't tell you what you need to know about this game, and that spread is fishy to me at
Very.
5.5. Lions are 9-18 straight up at home off of the loss in their last 27 games. The under is 12-5 in the last 17 for this Falcons team coming off of a win. This is a rare game where I like the favorite. You know, I do want to monitor those injuries throughout the week. But I think that for the Falcons to be 2-0 here is pretty fortunate. I think that Detroit might outclass them here at home. What are your thoughts?
and this is crazy. I'm showing 65% of the tickets on Detroit. That means this is like heavy, sharp money on these Falcons. The Falcons are interesting, man. Their 2 running backs are top notch. Detroit showed a lot of holes in their defense against Seattle. What was your conclusion in that game? That Seattle's better than everyone thought and Detroit's worse, or a little bit of both? Or
I just thought it was a good buy low spot on Seattle.
Yeah.
I think they had a rough week 1, but I think Seattle is a pretty solid team, you know? And I think that this Detroit team at home now, I think is 5.5. I think they can.
It's down to 3. 3.5. Yeah. I'm 3 right here on Bet Openly. 3.
I love that. The
Right.
-3.
Oh my God. What are we missing? Dude, the Detroit's rookie running back. I get they don't have Montgomery, or if they don't have Montgomery, dude, he's a stud.
I think that line movement's based on the injuries, though.
Okay.
Right? Because Montgomery's questionable. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the number 1 right, is questionable. CJ Johnson, questionable.
Falcons are healthy.
They are banged up, and the Falcons are, for the most part, pretty healthy. But yeah, I would let this number go down to 3. Like I guess it already has. And I still like Detroit. I think they have enough weapons at home to cover here.
This is an interesting one. I'll say it feels so fishy to me that I don't want to like jump on one side or the other. I'm very, very surprised this didn't stay at 4.5. I'm not surprised that it dropped from 5.5. That's a nice hook to have, 2 different ones. But I'm very surprised that I'm seeing -3 right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Falcons were down, what? They were down 12 points, 13 points.
Down 12.
They were down 12 going into that fourth
Against
quarter.
the Packers.
Against the Packers. They outscored them 13-0 and won that game by a single point.
And the Packers, all they did was smoke Chicago. I'm not trying to be a dick. I was on Chicago money line this week. That was a nice loss. But technically, we got a loss in Atlanta, and they beat Chicago. So I'm curious to see what the Packers do this week. That'll be another. We'll get into that one.
Yeah, I really like Detroit here, especially at the 3 number.
Oh.
All right, up next we have the New Orleans Saints versus the Green Bay Packers. The Saints +2.5 on the road, over under 43. I'm willing to bet I know what Gino likes here.
Oh,
I think you're going to be on the Saints.
Dude, I'm actually not.
11% of tickets so far. Remember, that's across the 4 biggest sports books in the U.S. are on the Saints. 89% of the bets are on the Packers, even after they blew that game last week. Jamal Williams, questionable. Christian Watson and Aaron Jones, questionable for the Packers. The Packers 27-11-1 at home, coming off of a loss in their last 39 games. Obviously, that's with Aaron Rodgers. The under is hitting 8 of the last 12 games for the Saints, coming off of a win. To me, this game has the Saints and the under written all over it in an ugly game. They come here on the road and they win 2017 is my prediction.
So Matty was right. If he made me bet this game, it's Saints money line. And maybe even the points, honestly. I think these two defenses are going to battle. But this is one of my bigger plays of the week. I actually like the under in this game. I was thoroughly unimpressed with the Saints offense versus Carolina.
Yeah.
Green Bay has equally as good of a defense, if not better. I've been hyping the Green Bay defense up.
You think Green Bay's better than Carolina's defense?
Just no, obviously not based on performance. I'm saying Green Bay is one of the more underranked defensively. They keep not performing, so I keep looking wrong.
Yeah.
I think this is a chance for Green Bay to show against the very the New Orleans offense looked. Their quarterback timing didn't look good. Their run game looked okay. Obviously, Carolina has a better rush D, but I believe this is a chance for Green Bay to show me and the world that I'm right. Green Bay is an elite defense, even though they have not performing that way. Mm-hmm. This is one of those power ranking ones for me where I have Green Bay ranked higher than they're performing. And technically, you're right. I'm not looking good so far. I do think Atlanta was a tough matchup for the Green Bay offense, but Green Bay shut down Chicago.
Yeah. I like the Saints here 100%. I love taking dogs on the road at plus 2.5. It feels disgusting, and I love it. People are going to see the Green Bay Packers minus 2.5 at home, and they're gonna think it's as simple as that. I like the Saints here on the upset. I think they hold this Packers team to 17 points on the road.
And this is Packers home opening, right? I believe so. I think they were on the road against Chicago week 1.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
That's even more value for you. People can say, hey, Packers are back home. They're going to open up.
Yeah.
My top play on this is the under.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Saints know how to win games, bro. You know, like it's not pretty. Like even in the Carolina game, it was not pretty. One thing I'll say about Carolina is they're just not willing to take any risks. They're so conservative, and I think it really hurts them. But the Saints, like, they'll bring in Taysom Hill, like they'll do whatever it takes. And they just edge out games.
100%.
I just see them doing that here on the road.
100%.
This is one of my favorite games of the week, actually.
Oh man.
So as surprising as
you know what's crazy? Like I want to add, we don't have to, but I want to add the square play of the week along with the dog of the week. Mm-hmm. I just think it's cool because the public's going to support us.
Yeah.
Dude, people hated on us like crazy for saying our square play of the week is the Dolphins last week. Like, you got to do some square stuff, guys. I'm just telling you, as someone that knows all the systems, not all of them, as someone that is educated on systems and value and line movement, even I put chips on the table that I shouldn't. That's just gambling. It's fun. You want to be right. He wants to be right. I want to be right. That's why we gamble. And I'm sorry. I would take that Dolphins game. Even if they lost, I would take it 100 times out of 100. And I'm glad we both took it because these Dolphins are good. And I thought they could have been up even more.
No, they are good. But this is a spot right now. Denver 0-2 against the spread to start the season. If you guys were here in the intro of the show,
2-0.
Teams that are 0-2 against the spread going into week 3 are a near 78% against the spread. And they're now up to a 6.5-point underdog on the road in Miami, over under at, I believe, 48, unless that number dropped.
I see it locked in at 48.
48 is where the total's at. Jalen Waddle is questionable as of this past Monday.
Damn, what happened to him?
The Dolphins are 14-5 against the spread at home, coming off of a win. The under is 9-3 in road games for the Broncos, coming off of a loss. So when Denver loses and then they go on the road, they tend to play defense that next game. I think the public is as high as it gets on this Miami Dolphins team. Tua is the MVP favorite. He's the leader in passing yards. And if you look at the Broncos, like, look what they did last week. I mean, they looked good through 3 quarters, right? I know they blew that game against Washington.
I mean, they threw 14 in the first quarter.
It feels like they finally started clicking, right? Like, I don't know about you, but like it feels square, but the over in this game, like Russell Wilson, like this feels like they're starting to click. Miami obviously is clicking on all cylinders on offense. Now with me saying all that, this game will probably go under, but
no, I disagree.
This is the one game where I do kind of lean the over here. What do you think?
I like the over, and technically we've lost 2.5 points. So that means the Sharps saw this and immediately started pumping this. Everyone thinks of Denver as a defensive team. I think Denver's going to be able to score in this game. And I think you're getting the under a little low coming off of New England. I just cannot get behind Denver winning this game. And I know it's square. There's going to be Miami money line in almost every square parlay. I just think this is going to be a shootout, and I think the Dolphins win by 3, 4. I can't get behind them at 6.5. I won't be surprised if they cover. I'm just going to be on the over in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 6.5 doesn't even feel like a huge number.
They're begging you to take Miami.
Yeah, I mean, Miami 2-0 on the season. It's looked really good. Denver 0-2 on the season has not looked really good.
Oh, this is not.
And why is it only 6.5? You know, this is the game where I would think it would be 8 or 9.5, 8 to 9.5, somewhere in there.
And is Miami 2-0 on the road? I think so.
2-0 on the 2-0.
Yeah, they haven't been home yet.
Yeah.
So this is their first home game. I don't know. Something about these Dolphins, dude. I like my homie Mike, the coach. I think he has a funky little energy.
Yeah.
He's kind of quirky. Some of their offensive plays look nasty. Oh man, he's having fun out there. I miss him as our Niners coordinator. I'm not going far enough to say I'm back in Miami twice as a square play. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing that. I do think Miami wins. I just like the over best.
What do you think about a teaser here? You basically get Miami at a near pick 'em and then tease the over down to like 39.
So technically speaking, you want that at 7, not 6.5. Yeah. Like arguably the squarest teaser is the 6.5 to a half. You basically have a money line. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Miami loses this game. Yeah. I do not. I'll get into all that later with survivor pools.
With that said, feels like this is the season on the line for the Broncos. They're going to come out desperate.
They had that last week, dude, and they're just not a winning org anymore. You're up 14-3 at home, 21-14 at half, mm-hmm. and you don't close out Washington with your defensive first, and they're a defensive first squad, not known for their offense.
Yeah.
I get McLaughlin, like Terry McLaurin is a stud, but like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have lost money waiting on Denver to turn that corner. Yeah. Like we've been saying that for 2 years. Russ, that defense, this new coach, something's just not right there, and I can't put my thumb on it.
All right, we will see it. Up next, we got the Seahawks and the Panthers. Carolina is on the road here. 6.5 point underdog I'm seeing. Is that number still right?
This one's nuts, man. So it opens up at 4.5, right? Why?
Yeah, it's around 6 now. I think 6 is
5.5. I'm showing 5.5. It's all the same.
Yeah, over under 42.5, down to 42 now. 20% of the tickets on the Panthers, 80% on the Seahawks. I'll tell you what, after seeing that performance of how conservative Carolina is, you just look at this game and you're like, how can they offensively stick with the Seahawks on the road here? Like their defense is going to have to show out, I think, for them to win this game or cover. Like I think they're going to have to really show out. I think they're going to have to maybe score defensively or put themselves in a position to score with a big turnover. Because otherwise, I like the Seahawks team at home.
So my largest over-under last week was over Washington-Denver. And it sounds really stupid, but I said to everyone, it makes no sense. So I got to bet the over. I'm Carolina money line. I'm Carolina money on this game. Plus 213. It makes no sense why this didn't open up at 6, why it didn't immediately jump to 6.5 or 7. It's went from 4.5 to 5.5, showing people they lost a little bit of value. So you should bet Seattle now before they're 6.5 or 7. Makes no sense. I think someone smarter than me knows that Carolina's gonna be able to run the ball in this game, and they're gonna be able to control this game with the run. Because this to me is the over in Denver, Washington repeated. The spread makes no sense. So you will give me the dog at plus 213 money line.
Yeah. Seahawks 0-2 to start this. I'm sorry, Panthers 0-2 to start the season. They are not 0-2 against the spread though.
Interesting.
So that trend doesn't play here.
They pushed last week.
Okay.
2 days ago, yesterday.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think just by looking at just the eye test alone, I just don't know how Carolina scores with Seattle here.
It's a great. You're not wrong. Indeed, yesterday, Odds Jam was 12% ROI on Carolina money line. And Trev and I, and you said, hey, the eye test, Carolina cannot beat the Saints. So we avoided it. We avoided a loss. You're not wrong, Matty.
No, I like them.
I don't even have an argument. I'm just, the line to me is, this to me is the hook of the week. This to me is the game. Just like Seattle was last week and the Giants last week, this to me is the game that cleans everyone out. And I'm going to be on the other side with the books.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to let Bryce Young, like, let him off the leash, bro. Like, if you just look at the play call,
you got it.
Like, this dude, like, he is a playmaker. He has breakaway speed. He can run the ball. Like, you need to let him do his thing, because otherwise it's like, what are we doing? Like, just put Andy Dalton in otherwise. You know, so I was, as someone who needed the Panthers in the under this past week, I just couldn't believe how conservative the play calling was. Like, you just have no chance to win.
Panthers up 17-6 at half.
All right, we shall see. Let's move on here. The Bears at Kansas City. All right, let's pull this one up.
I should say also, I got a lot of hate for the Seahawks. I'm a Niner fan, so I'm like a super biased. It's like you with the Cowboys.
The Bears are now up to a 13.5-point underdog.
Ooh.
Over-under, I think, is down a little bit to 48. 27% of the tickets on the Bears spread. 73% of the tickets on the Chiefs.
Oh.
The Bears are 4-10-1 against the spread coming off of the loss. The under is hit in 13 of the Chiefs' last 20 games coming off of a win. The Bears, however, are 0-2 ATS this year. Do they finally cover here as a double-digit underdog in the NFL, especially considering 78% of teams have when they've gone 0-2 in week one, or 0-2 to start the season against the spread? Is this too many points here, even against the Chiefs?
It's a lot of points. The Chiefs' defense has been better than their offense this year.
Yeah.
Let me repeat that. The Chiefs' defense has been better than their offense this year. Is this the game where the lid comes off, you know, and the Chiefs just run it up? The Bears let the Packers score a lot of points.
Chiefs haven't scored more than 20 in 2 games.
I know, and it's insane. And
now they're a 12.5-point favorite.
And give or take, the Bears played pretty good defense against Tampa Bay. They really did. That pick 7 at the end of the game killed us on the Wong teaser. But oh man, I know you guys want plays, so I'm trying to give you one. This is just very hard. I think I would take the Bears plus 12.5, just because I think that Chiefs spear carries that Mahomes offense, and I don't think they have that offense right now. I don't know why. I mistakenly grabbed Isaiah Pacheco in a lot of my fantasy leagues, and he is doing nothing. Their run game is non-existent. They are one-sided. If there's one team to play one-sided, it's the Bears defense, but I'd take the 12.5 here.
Yeah. I almost feel like this is a get-right spot for Kansas City, though, at home against this low-life Bears team.
Low life, you're evil.
But it does go against the trends, and it is double digits in the NFL, which is I hate laying. So usually this is the type of game I would just stay far, far away from. There's 15 other games on the slate.
Yeah, and I'm showing 47.5 now, so it's dropped 3 points in our way for the under. This could be a dog under for. Are you money line on that one? Are you money line on all of them?
Everything, bro.
Oh man, what
now,
did the Bears
that said,
win?
last year there was multiple double-digit dogs that won outright. So, and this could be one right here. The Arizona Cardinals against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cardinals are plus 600 on Bet Openly right now. What a number to get an NFL team at 6-1 at home. Absolutely unheard of. Over under 43.5. Shocking as it seems, 89% of the tickets are already on the Dallas Cowboys, 11% on the Cardinals. However, the Cowboys do have some injuries here. Brandon Cooks questionable with the MCL. Tyler Smith questionable in the hamstring. Cardinals are a bit healthier, but they have not looked good to start the season. The under is hitting 32 of the Cowboys' last 44 games on the road coming off of a win. The Cardinals, however, have lost their last 5 games at home coming off of a loss. So when things are bad for the Cardinals, they tend to be just as bad when they return home. With all of that said, someone taught me at a very young age that when you get double digits at home in the NFL, you close your eyes and you take it. So that's what we're going to do this week. That's what I'm going to do. This game is going to be on my card. I'm taking the points at home for a full unit on my card. This is the NFL. You have to. You cannot rationalize taking a team minus 13 points on the road in the NFL. I don't care how good and how bad those teams have looked. I can't do it. It's a rule for me.
Yeah, Matty brought up a good system, guys. Home in the NFL, double digits. It's just macro. It just wins forever. The public hammers the good team versus the bad team, and it just doesn't pan out. This is a no bet for me. I haven't figured out this Arizona team. They could technically be 2-0. They're 0-2. Their offense has been a little surprising. Their defense should be a little better than they ended that second game. Their first half, they look really good. I'm having a tough time reading this game. What I would say, if I'm betting this game, I'm going over 43.5. I just believe Dallas looks a lot better on defense than they are. They are a top defense, so let me rephrase that. People think like this Dallas defense is like insanely top tier for what they did to the Giants. What they did to the Giants, the Cardinals did to the Giants the first half. Obviously, it's way more impressive to do the full game. So what I'll end with is I believe the public is a little too high on Dallas's defense. I think the Cardinals will be able to put up some points, and that to me gets us to the over. I do think Dallas will be able to score here.
Yeah. And look, from an NFL math standpoint, like the Cardinals lost to the Giants 31-28. The Giants lost to the Cowboys 40-0. So
right there.
The math, right, is
the public's gonna be all over Dallas.
They already are.
They're gonna tease
9
it.
out of 10 people, 9 out of 10 tickets are already on Dallas minus the points.
Dallas -6 is going to be in every teaser. -5, -4.5 on the 7.5ers. Yeah, it's not going to be mine, but it will be in everyone's.
Man,
Man,
no idea how bad I want to take the Cardinals
money line. Oh man,
It's just so ugly.
Dallas by 3.
Dallas by 3. All right, we will see. We will see what happens. Steelers at Raiders. Let's move on here. The Steelers, 1.5-point favorite at Las Vegas, over under 43.5. This is an interesting spread, right? The Steelers, even though they were able to beat Cleveland, it took a TJ Watt fumble 6, right? A scoop and score for TJ Watt.
Starting the game, pick 6.
And a pick 6 to start the game. So you can make the argument that the Steelers should be 0-2 to start the season, right?
Yeah, their offense looked honestly, minus that big play, big breakaways, their offense looked terrible again.
Yeah, the public all over them to start the week. 71% of the tickets are on the Steelers, 29% on the Raiders. Minkah Fitzpatrick is questionable. Deontay Johnson on the IR. Chandler Jones and Jacoby Myers are also questionable. The Raiders are 7-15 straight up at home in their last 23 games.
Nice.
And this is a must-win game for the Steelers, right? If you're going to compete in the AFC North, you have to win these types of games, right?
Yeah.
They were able to somehow pull it off this just yesterday on Monday Night Football. I don't know if they do it here on the road. I'm going to be honest. This is one of these games where it's like a 1-point spread for the Raiders.
And I'd say it too. This got beat up by sharps, just so y'all know. The Raiders are now -2.5 on Bet Openly. With the Raiders getting less tickets, this to me says the public's all over Steelers and the money's all over the Raiders. Yep. Matty and I like being with the money. Raiders money line for me. -127.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think they've looked overall with this season so far?
They were in that game. Jimmy played like shit, made some really bad plays. The Raiders are fine. Yeah. Their running back did nothing. They're fine. They got to go home at 1-1. This game puts them, 2-1 in a very tough AFC West. But an AFC West that's up for grabs. You have the 0-2 Denver, 0-2 Chargers, and then you have the 1-1 Chiefs. Raiders win this game. They're tied for first.
Yeah.
Still.
The problem is I've been so unimpressed with both of these teams.
I agree.
The Raiders barely beat Denver 17-16, and then they lost by 28 to the Bills. And the Steelers, on the other hand, looked terrible week 1, and then week 2, even when they won, they looked really bad.
Yep.
So I don't know. This is a tough game. I could even see this being a really low-scoring game on the under here, honestly.
I've been thoroughly unimpressed with the Steelers. I like the Steelers team total under. and I like the Raiders money line.
Yeah. You just have, when you take under in Steelers games, you just have to hope their defense doesn't
put up 14.
Put up points. That's the thing.
Doesn't put up 14 and have a 71-yard pass.
6 or run something back. They can still get a turnover and put the offense in a position to score real quickly.
100%.
So that's the biggest challenge, I think, in this game, if you're going to take the under.
Yep.
All right. My Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we were actually talking about this game earlier today in the group chat. Look, you guys know I love my Eagles, but I think this is a spot you have to fade them on the road here. My Eagles have been very bad against the spread on the road. I do think they win this game, but I don't think they cover. I think they're up to – I think this number actually went down.
Yeah.
I think it's 5.5 points right now with the over-under at 46. 68% of the tickets on the Philadelphia Eagles minus the points, 32% on the Bucs. But we're banged up right now. Kenneth Gainwell, Quez Watkins, Bradbury, like all questionable. The Bucs 11-3 at home, coming off of a win. Eagles 4-11 against the spread on the road, off of a win in their last 15 games. With all of that said, I will say one thing here: the Eagles were somehow 2-0 against the spread, and we've played terrible.
Yep.
So you have to wonder, what game are the Eagles going to put it all together and just rout a team? And you have to wonder, is it this game? Because the Eagles D-line against Baker Mayfield.
I agree.
I can see some crazy shit going on there. So I do lean the Bucs in this game with the points. I just think that Eagles have just not been a good team against the spread on the road. But with that said, I do think our D-line could cause some havoc here.
Yep. If you go back to me 2 weeks ago, I said the Eagles have a new defensive offensive coordinator. It's going to take them time. They will snowball. The fact that they're 2-0 makes them scary, because if they can get to 3-0 then 4-0 as they start getting more comfortable with their new coordinators, it's dangerous. I do thoroughly like the Bucs +6, +6.5. And this will be my first time betting the Bucs this year. I was against them once, and it didn't work out so hot. So that's where I stand. Don't have a heavy lean on this. Maybe I would go under, especially because of prime time. That 6 nice. And like you said, I think this might kick off at 4.5. So take this now. I gave this out -6 or +6, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs won by double digits in week 1. That's a new quarterback and like new system, everything. Then they go on the road at Minnesota and win, or vice versa.
Yeah, vice versa.
Minnesota was week 1. But still, that's an impressive win at Minnesota in week 1, and then a double-digit win in week 2. You just have to trust that that's a lot of points for this team at home. They've looked like they've had a pretty complete team. You know, they've played well defensively. They've moved the chains on offense.
Yep.
Baker's looked solid. It's just a lot of points. But again, don't be surprised if the Eagles finally put it all together here and get a huge double-digit win. I just don't know what game that's going to be.
What are we ending with? That's for the game. Are we going to dog of the week?
We got Rams and Bengals.
Oh, there's one more.
Rams and Bengals we're at here.
My bad, dog.
Let's pull that one up. This is your dog of the week, bro.
This is my dog of the week, guys.
Rams a 2.5-point dog. I think that number is inaccurate.
Must be a typo. Yeah, it must be a typo.
Rams are 2.5-point dog on the road at Cincinnati. Over under is, I'm seeing down to 43.5. Check me on that one. But 77% of the tickets are on the Rams here. 23% on the Bengals. Cooper Kupp's still out. I'm hearing probably week 5 he'll return. Joe Burrow is questionable with the calf injury. Now, something to think about. I don't know if you know this or not, even though you took the Rams your dog of the week. Last year, the Bengals started off 0-2.
I know. I think
and then they came back and won the division.
I think they started off multiple times in the last few years.
Last year, after an 0-2 start, they ended up winning in week 3, 27-12. Now, that was against the Jets. Do you see them bouncing back here, or do you like the Rams?
Rams money line is my dog of the week. That's my official play. Dog of the week. Rams money line. I was impressed with their offense. I'm a biased Niner fan. I don't think the Niners defense had a problem. I think the Rams have their offense clicking, and still we were able to beat them. The Bengals just don't. Something's off. Something's off, and they're not going to be able to fix it in time. In time for this game.
Yeah, I do see that. I know it feels like I like the under every game, but this is a classic under because something is wrong with the Bengals offense. but they're also going to fight defensively at home
Yep.
after starting 0-2 on the year. So I really do like this under. I'm not a fan of taking either side here. I would literally pass on either team here as a desperate spot for the Bengals, but they haven't looked good. And I do think the Rams are better than what people think as well. Just, the Rams played the Niners.
I think this one pays Matty. I think this is a dog to the under. Dog money line to the under. This one pays Matty.
I would absolutely love that. All right, let's move on. Gino's going to give out his survivor pick of the week, as well as a few different spots that you could take a survivor. If you guys watched the show last year, we did this every single week. We want to make sure we're good about it, doing it every single week this year. So go ahead.
Oh, perfect. So I was just going to go riskiest to safest, and I'm just going off spreads, guys, so nothing you don't know. Seahawks, Dolphins, Ravens, Jags, Niners, Cowboys, Chiefs. My favorite plays are I do not like – my favorite play is Jags. I'm not overly high on the Jags as a team this year like everyone else is. Mm-hmm. I know they're probably going to win their division. It's looking that way. Tennessee will be there nipping at their heels. But Jags are where I believe is the best survivor play. If you want to be like if you want to take a lot of chances, Patriots or Lions, but I would not support those. And last week I gave out 4 plays. I was fortunate enough to go 4-0. I went 1 pick in each, like spreading it out. I had the Niners in one, Dallas in another, Philly in another, and Bills in another. Nothing ballsy. I thought it was good to get through that week. I thought the New York Giants were going to fall and everyone was going to have a problem. And I know the Lions cost a couple people. So my league went down like 20%, which was nice to see. So technically speaking, y'all are most likely going to fall on, and I'll just pull it up again just to rip it top to bottom. Y'all like the double digits. I don't like the Niners here on a short week. I save the Niners for when they have when they have a depleted Arizona later in this season. I do not like the Browns in this position.
-17.
Yeah, exactly. I do not like the Dolphins. So guys, if you're on Dolphins, please skip that one. Don't be chaotic and take like the Packers. There's no point. Patriots is if you're a Cowboy. You want to get the Patriots off your slate and you genuinely believe they have the Jets number. I won't support that. Ravens is one I would get behind. I think the Ravens is a really solid pick at -8. I'm not overly impressed with these Ravens. I get that they're 2-0. I'm going to get them off my books. They will be a couple of my official picks. And then the other one I said I wouldn't support, but y'all might do it, is the Lions. I wouldn't support that. I wouldn't support the Bills either. I would also support the Jags. Getting the Jags in Baltimore off your books, to me, this is a great position for both of them.
Yeah, the problem with the Jags is I think they were a 7-point favorite at home last year against the Texans. I lost outright, and I believe that hurt a lot of people's survivor leagues. And it is a division game, so that's the only thing I'll push back on. Fair. The Ravens make sense. I actually like the Colts +8 on the spread, but I think the Ravens do make sense for a survivor pick. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to our DFS. We have our guy Trevor coming in. What up, bro?
What's up, boys? How we feeling?
We can hear him without.
They never put their fucking headphones on.
I can hear you.
Oh man, technology's working. Check it out. How we feeling, boys?
What you like this week in DFS?
Man, there's I think there's going to be some interesting lines. So I was just listening. So the lines aren't out for everybody yet, but you just brought up the Jags. This is a smash spot for Travis Etienne this week. That Houston run defense is just terrible. Like, it's real bad. I think this is a good get right spot for Jacksonville. I like Gino literally said how I would say it. This is a great week to get Jacksonville off your books. Use them the first game. You don't want them in a second game in a division match against Houston. Because I think everybody's going to go Chiefs this week, right? Like, if there was ever like a time to get your offense going, it's for the Chiefs against this terrible Bears defense, right? Mahomes might throw for 500 yards on this D. Like, it's that kind of matchup. The challenge is you just never know he's going to throw to there. But I'll start with the San Francisco game. I'll give out one official. Thursday night, right? Short week coming off. The Giants started getting Jalen Hyatt involved last week, and there's a reason they drafted him. Paris Campbell has he's, for those old enough to know the movie Bull Durham, he is Ebby Calvin. He is $1 million arm and a 5-cent head. The guy has all the physical attributes in the world. It's never translated to the NFL, and he just never got going with the Colts. He does not look right with them. So I think they get Hyatt more involved. And right now, we're going to put out Paris Campbell's receiving prop is 28.5 yards. We're taking the under. It is, I don't think he gets used. And when they're using him, he's catching 2-yard passes off the line. Like, he stops, he takes 2 steps, or it's a dump pass. It's just that line shouldn't be there against us with who they're going to have to use and how they're going to have to use that offense. Especially, I know they said Barkley's trending, but it doesn't make sense to play him here. It doesn't. No, like, listen,
it's a short week. You're a 10-point dog. It's not worth his health.
Yeah, and he might be saying that, right? Maybe they just said it because whatever, they want to try to throw Shanahan off.
I meant to bring that up earlier.
That doesn't make any sense to me, because then you get him off here and you get 10 more days before he's got to play. You give him plenty of time to come back, right? Like, in a game that you're probably going to get smoked in.
Especially because it's an ankle.
Yeah. And he avoided high ankle, thank goodness, because I am heavy Barkley in fantasy, right? I like a guy playing for a contract that's one of the best talents in the league. But we know what our defense is. We saw what Dallas did to them and how they were just up in Daniel Jones's grill all night. I think we're going to do the same. I think Bosa could have 3 sacks. I mean, they're going to be all over him. So for me, I think they're going to have to go to Waller. I think they're going to have to go to Hyatt. They don't have Barkley, and it's a short week. The Paris Campbell is going to get used. I don't think his line's this high moving forward the rest of the season. I think this is the highest we see it, and I think it closes at 23-ish by the time the game starts on Thursday. I think people are going to start seeing this and going, oh, yeah, that line makes no sense. And then, like, games I'm excited for, that I want to see is, so I really like the Seattle, Carolina. We'll talk about last night, right? Like, I took a beating every which way on Jamal getting hurt. Right. We saw what Tony Jones ended up doing. We would have just printed money if Jamal doesn't pull his hamstring. Carolina does not have a run D, and we're going to attack Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to open at like 65.5-ish. If I get anything below 75, it is smash the over for the Seahawks against them. That's just a great spot to use Walker. And I said it last week, right? Like, when I'm going overs, I want guys that can break it in one play, right? When they grab it, I want to be able to grab the gear and be gone. The other one I'm still debating for Thursday night, I want to see if Ayuk plays. We missed some passes. Brock missed some passes that were like, should have been gone for touchdowns.
Still multiple.
His line's still real low, and they came out and said, hey, they know they need to conserve CMC, right? Like, they can use him, but they don't want to burn him out. They don't want to get him to week 10 and he has, record setting carries. And the Giants pass D is not good. If Ayuk's in, I think I'm going to go over Brock passing yards. So that's a spot I like. Again, KC probably going to be on Mahomes. That's just right. That Chicago team is so bad. This is a chance for them to get there, get Tony really involved, get more involved, have Kelsey going, like, get their offense going in this matchup. And then Dallas, I think Pollard's going to be in a smash spot against the Cards. This is like a stars and scrubs week to me, from a DFS fantasy standpoint. I think there's going to be some crazy upsets. I think Washington can take down Buffalo this week. I'm on the Redskins. I like Bieniemy. We saw how Buffalo looked against a better team in week 1. They still didn't look right, even against the Raiders, they still just didn't look. My eye test, Gino and I were talking about this on another show. Right? My eyes are, I'm watching the games, and I get we model, but my eyes are telling me one thing. I think Washington with the points is a great spot for an upset. This could be a trap for Baltimore. Like Baltimore, they're still trying to figure out Todd's offense. They have the talent there. Can they get it going? Right? Like Lamar's not running, just like, I mean, thankfully Chicago fired Getty today and got rid of their OC because they're just completely, I don't know, there's a player more misused in the league than Justin Fields. We saw what they did last year when they started using him. I loved him there. And then what do you guys think? Like the most interesting game for me of the week is Atlanta Detroit. Where are you guys out on Atlanta Detroit? I think this is like a pass versus a run team, right? We know Atlanta's just going to grind the ball. We know Ritter can't throw. Now with Montgomery done, I think Detroit comes out and tries to pass. Where are you guys leaning on this? Because I'm torn on this game.
I like Detroit.
Okay.
And I was pushing a little bit on the over. I think there's going to be some points, and I can't figure out the line. I didn't understand why I got beat down so much. So the sharps are clearly all over Atlanta, but I do think this is a letdown spot for Atlanta.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand when I saw the points move. I'm like, yep. I just don't get where it can go. And then the one other real I think the ugly game for me is the New England Jets. Right, we don't know what to do with Wilson. You know, they're still trying to figure things out in New England. It's interesting to watch the young 20-year-olds that have never experienced what it's like to have your team suck, right? And watching all these guys on social like be so frustrated with New England when they just murdered everybody for 20 straight years. I'm personally enjoying it, but it's interesting to watch on where it's there. And I probably won't have any part of that game.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
All right, bro. Well, thank you for coming over, man.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good week.
Later, brother.
All right. That concludes the end of the show, everybody. Everything you see on the screen is where you can find the show, the social media channels, etc. in the description. If you'd like to become a Discipline the Gens member, you just go to disciplinethegens.com. It's just over $1 a day to subscribe. If you'd like the best data and the best app in the industry, go over to Outlier. That's in our subscription. And if you want to save money, win more, lose less, go to betoakley.com. All three of those things are in the subscription below. We will see you guys back next week for NFL Week 4.
Later.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces for a taste of your whiskey. I'll give you some advice. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away, knowing what to keep. Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. In his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. time enough for counting when the dealing's done.